I love her.
Whoa, whoa, he just straight up said it. Hey internet, it's Jessica and welcome back to Seduce Me to the Demon War Diana's Route. And in the last episode, we finally got to see how the whole battle started, essentially with the Demon Lord and how he infiltrated Diana's home and took out her entire family. So this is the very beginning, but not only that, since we're considered in a relationship with Diana, Saero is kind of here too, so it makes it very awkward because we all know he's in love with her. So I feel like we're competing with Saero right now for Diana's affection or feelings, whatever. Anyway, let's continue. Diana chuckled a bit before standing up straight. Her wings that had been folded against her back splayed out behind her near us, causing Saero and I to step back. As Diana began to speak, her voice was booming through the air. The cheers around us became silent.
Friends! We have won this battle, but they will not be gone for long. This is the beginning of a war to end tyranny, to end chaos!
I could tell that every demon in the area had their ears and hearts open to Diana. I felt myself become full of courage just from listening to her speak.
You have shown great
she
courage
has
today,
that
but you must build even more for the war ahead. The Demon Lord will try to cut you down, but we will prevail, as I am the last living heir to this grand kingdom. I swear unto you all that I will fight until the very end, and free this world of the evil that is the Demon Lord. With this, I urge you to stand with me and fight by my side. Not as my subjects, but as my brothers and sisters. I ask now, who will stand with me?
I'm sorry, every time I play fucking Seduce Me, I always mention Game of Thrones. I can't help but, pull up my sword and just be like the queen in the north. That's what I want to say right now. The sound that came afterwards was loud and eardrum piercing. The sound of thousands cheers beat through the air and showed the allegiance of every demon in the area, and then some. I could only stare in awe as Diana took everyone's cheers and took a heavy breath. It was then that I knew that I had become part of something grand at the sight of a woman who would change history. The following days were full of chaos. The Demon Lord tried to come back and reclaim his pride, but Diana somehow managed to press back with ease, giving him more wounds than inflicted before. It was then the castle became an impregnable fortress. Soon, word spread around the neighboring kingdoms of the Demon Lord's defeat and continued failed attempts to attack. Many leaders sent a message of allegiance, which Diana humbly accepted, and soon enough we drove the Demon Lord's army far back away from us. After every battle, she would wind up her arms, much to the slightly obvious disapproval of Saero. Whenever a demon questioned her presence, Diana would simply wave them off with a small token of praise towards me.
She is my most honored guest, and she is here to help us win this war.
I feel like our position in this is very awkward, because with the boys, there's a reason, because, we're married, right, and we're trying to, live our life, but the fucking dad is, trying to kill us. It's basically a threat, but I feel like with Diana, it's just very awkward, because we're just there, you know, there wasn't really, a purpose in the war. We just came with Diana just because she wanted to, show us shit. That was kind of it. Still, the thought of what we officially were began to make me concerned. Did Diana see me more than an energy source, an ally? We had kissed before we returned, but since then, I couldn't have been more unsure. I began to question myself. Why was I here? Exactly. I could only shake my head in response. I shouldn't doubt anything. We were in the midst of war and Diana at the front. She had many responsibilities, many that I could never hope to think on. The pinnacle moment of our relationship, however, came when a brute demon stormed into the castle all on his own. He was unarmed and carrying a single item, which made many demons step away from him in fright. Diana, Saero, and I were in the war room, were three other beings whom I had named Fae, Rabbit, and Shadow for simplicity. When the door in the room swung open, everyone was forced to turn their heads from the map they were previously poring over. What? All protest became silent as the being who entered chucked the object into the hands at the table. As it sat at the top of the middle of the map, all the demons in the room stared in absolute shock. Is that his horn? Oh, are we gonna figure out why he has? Oh, okay. Laying on the table was a red, broken horn. There was no blood or bone to it, but indeed the horn of the being who had stormed in. I became confused, wondering why this being decided to throw his horn at us. As I looked to Diana, however, I could see the shock in her eyes. The expression on her own face was a mixture of fear, surprise, and a little flattery, like someone had given her an exotic bouquet of bloody thorn-filled roses. Diana finally looked up at the demon who had entered the room and examined him.
Brute demon. What is the meaning of this?
What does it look like?
It looks like you're swearing your allegiance to the rebellion. The question is why?
Is that how you swear allegiance? You fucking break off your horns? He swore allegiance with his horn?
It's a brute demon tradition. If they leave their tribe to serve a non-nomadic kingdom without marrying into it, then they must break a horn in allegiance.
However, from what I recall, there are no more tribes left in the demon world after the demon lord's mass genocide of the brute demons.
I stared wide-eyed at Shadow. Mass genocide? The demon lord had that much power to eliminate an entire demon race? I looked at the brute demon, seeing him glare hard at Shadow at his remark.
Well, he didn't kill everyone.
Yeah, obviously not.
So there are more of you?
A flash of greed flashed in Brute's eyes before he looked down at the table.
No. I'm the only one left, and I refuse to let that bastard get away with this.
You know what's funny? It's funny because the demon lord is considered a brute demon, so he just eliminated his, people? Is that what he did? What a fucking dumbass. I felt incredibly terrible for the grief he had bear. It must have been horrible to be the last of his kind. I looked to Diana, wondering what she would say with this information. The look on Diana's face was enigmatic. She was obviously in deep thought, but how she was going to handle the situation before her. Finally, she took in a breath and let it aside before speaking.
Sir Brute, you come swearing your allegiance to the rebellion. Is there anything you demand of us for your service?
It was a question she asked every alliance leader. They often asked for a promise of freedom or an oath of protection from harm. The demons who were with us in the room simply joined out of their own interest. What about this demon? The brute demon rolled his shoulders back and stared at Diana, making her straighten up a bit.
I ask for you to perform ascending.
What's that?
Ascending?
What is that?
For the souls of your people?
The brute nodded before stepping up and placing his large hand on the table, staring back of it in torn shame.
My people did not deserve death, but their ashes now lie in the earth. There is no one who can give them a proper sending, so I ask that you, succubus, do this for me in return for my service.
I looked to Faye, hoping that they would explain, but Diana turned to me and spoke instead.
Dear, ascending is a ritual brute demons perform to honor their deceased.
Uh-huh.
It is a ritual of both celebration and grief, so it must be done with a full heart.
Huh? Oh, thanks. Diana smiled at me before nodding to turn back to the brute. I was happy that she was willing to teach me despite her position. The brute, however, finally took notice of me and glared.
A human?
Oh god.
What is it doing here?
Excuse me, it? I became suddenly irritated and stepped forward to confront the demon, but Diana placed a hand on my shoulder and cleared her throat.
She is a vital part of this war, Sir Brute. Please do not disrespect her.
Yeah, Diana will cut you. I looked to Diana, seeing her press her lips together in a fine line to stare into the brute's soul. A part of me felt extremely flattered at her protection. However, I could practically feel Saero's jealous aura from the other side of Diana. It's so awkward. The brute took a hard stare at me before eventually nodding and crossing his arms.
So, will you do it?
Diana took a moment to herself, staring at the wooden table in thought. I began to ponder about it as well. He seemed to be an worthy ally, but Diana seemed torn. Was it appropriate for a demon who wasn't a brute to do it? That's also true. When I was doing Sam's route, I picked Brute as our trainer, and there seemed to be some sort of conflict between Diana and him. I wasn't sure what it was because they never explained it. So maybe we'll get an insight in this. You should do it. I mean, we need his ally anyway, so I think you should do it. I placed my hand on Diana's shoulder and nodded as she looked at me in curiosity. If the brute wanted her to do it, then she should gain potential powerful ally. I smiled and nodded at her as she slowly relaxed under my gaze. After a moment, Diana turned to the brute demon and nodded.
Very well. I will perform the sending of your fallen kin.
When?
This afternoon.
Everyone hitched their breath in surprise at Diana's words. She would perform the same day? Did she even know how to perform it properly? Diana? With a chuckle, Diana looked at me with a small smirk.
I'll be fine, dear. I know a fair amount of brute demon rituals.
How much does Diana know? She's so... I don't know. She knows so much stuff. That afternoon became full of hustle. Servants were rushing back and forth, trying to prepare for the ritual they knew little to nothing about. Luckily, Shadow and Rabbit helped instruct everyone properly. I was taken to my room, given an opportunity to rest, but as I sat on the bed, I felt restless. I didn't want to sit around and do nothing for the day. There was much I could do, despite being a human. I wasn't I wasn't some decoration. I defied my instruction and wandered, hoping to find Diana. I wanted to help her if possible, but as I approached her room in practicing it, I managed to catch a pair of voices. Is this Saero?
My lady, I
it.
must insist.
Insist that I lock her in her room like a prisoner? Out of the question.
Whoa, what? I quietly passed myself against the wall near the doorway and continued to listen in, now wondering what was going on.
She is not a pet or a slave, Saero. She is my guest and greatest
Whoa,
ally.
Saero, I love you, but you want me to be locked in my room?
I understand this, but she's also a human. Every time someone new comes to forge an alliance with the rebellion, the human's presence is questioned.
If they are turned away by a mere human, then they are worthless allies.
My lady, you are not understanding my point.
Then what is the point, Saero?
A small silence followed. I was in awe that Diana was defending me so hard. As for Saero, I began to hear the jealous beast that he was hiding. What was he gonna do?
My point is that people are questioning what she is to you.
Oh no, not people are not questioning what I am to her. You're questioning what I am to her, Saero. Just say it. The question pained me to realize, but I was curious as well. What was I to her? She vouched me as an ally, but did she really like me as I liked her? I came with her to fix this world, but I truly came for her. After a painful long silence, Diana spoke again.
I care for her. Very much so. Like I care for you, Saero. She is very important to me, for many reasons. She has become part of my life, and anyone who questions why will be silenced.
Oh, dang.
Is that enough to appease you?
It is not my place to be appeased.
I took a breath, taking in what Diana had said. She cared for me. I wasn't sure whether to feel happy or sad at that, but I'd taken that she cared enough to protect me and defend me. I didn't get to feel the emotion for long, however, as they flew up beside me and grinned. I panicked for a moment, hoping that she wouldn't give my position away, but they whispered to me understanding.
Psst. We're about to go prepare the ritual dance area thing. Whatever.
Yeah?
Wanna come watch?
I opened my mouth to object, but it was stopped by Diana's voice.
Now, please, leave me be. I have to prepare, and cannot afford any more distractions.
I grimaced. I came to help, but I guess she had to work alone. I left with Faye, not wanting to be caught up by Saero and understanding that she needed to be alone for work. This ritual seemed very important to her, and the brute demon that demanded it of her. Of course, because they're going to be allies, so I assume it has to be. In truth, I was excited to see Diana go through with it. The fact that she was willing to dance for the brute demon was surprising. When Faye and the handful of demons that helped them finish the work stood in front of a line of crowds surrounding in the ritual area. To say that I was mildly nervous for her was an understatement. Did Diana even know how to do the sending? Oh, this is like... Sorry, I just remember it all out of nowhere. This is kind of like in Final Fantasy X. If you guys played that game, when Yuna did the summoner ritual for all the dead in... Not Xanadu. What's that place called? Kilika Island. Yeah, that's it. When she was dancing for them, and then Tidus was like, "Oh my god, I'm in love." That part I'm talking about. From what she insinuated to me, she brought me to my room. She would have given instructions and followed me to a T. Would she be able to do it? A small, quiet wave of gas came towards my direction, causing me to look over at where they originated from. I stared wide at what I saw. Diana? Whoa! Whoa! Sorry. It caught me off guard. Whoa! She looks badass! Diana was dressed in some sort of dancing garb, with a purple paint over her already tainted skin, shaping symbols around her body, and her hands were two large sabers glowing in the sunlight. She looked absolutely stunning. Diana stepped between the crowd as they parted their ways for her into a chalk-drawn circle, which separated the ritual area and the ones watching it. Her bare feet guided her to the center and a couple of other demons, each holding onto an instrument. She stood near the edge away from where I was. At last, the air was filled with a complete silence. The look on Diana's face showed pure concentration and focus as she closed her eyes and she took a deep breath. The drums echoed through the air as the dance finally began. I stared, mesmerized by what I was watching. Diana's entire body moved in time with the beat of the instruments floating through the air. The saber she was holding glided through the air as if she was slicing through it with perfect ease. As the beat moved, her hips and shoulders rolled fiercely like a hypnotic and passionate belly dancer routine mixed with an African tribal step. However, her focus remained on the sabers in her hands as she circled in to instruct the dance within. Her bare feet hit the ground hard and their heels just jutted into the dirt, not hard enough to disturb the soil, but loud enough to echo alongside the drum beat. My breath was taken away with the sight. However, I wasn't the only one blown away by the dancing succubus.
She's beautiful, isn't she?
This is so awkward. Oh my god, I turned my head away, but I could tell that Saero had stepped up to stand beside me and watch Diana dance. Two of us stood side by side, watching the person we both care about giving a homage to the extinct demon race. Saero's voice was barely audible over the sound of the drums and chants in the air.
To accept this role is a great honor for her.
Really? Why? I'm not gonna be a dick, okay? I'm just gonna ask why. I felt my curiosity surface at a statement. Was this dance truly an honor? This was meant to honor the death of thousands of brute demons. How is this an honor?
Brute demons are extremely devoted to proper ceremony and homage. Because of this, the role of rage dancer is often given to the most powerful and the most honorable brute demon in the tribe where they perform the sending.
That's pretty cool, and considering it's Diana, she's pretty powerful. That makes sense. But Diana's not a brute demon. Why not have the brute demon himself perform it?
Because the brute demon recognizes her strength. He knows how powerful she is, so he asked her to
she's a
perform
bad
it
bitch,
instead.
that's why. A smile off escaped Saero's lip, causing me to glance over slightly before returning to watch the dance. What's so funny?
I apologize. Imagining that brute demon dance is rather humorous to
Saero,
think
you're
about.
such a child. Oh my god. As the thought popped into my head, I couldn't help but giggle a bit as well. Saero and I shared our laugh before letting it die quietly so that we can continue to watch Diana, the true dancer of the evening.
I love her.
Whoa, he just straight up said it. Whoa, Saero, I love Saero. Can I just say that? He doesn't give a fuck. Oh my god. That stopped my thoughts. I looked over to Saero, seeing his gaze still plastered towards Diana. His expression was cool like stone, serious in what he had said and meant. He loved her.
I've loved her ever since we were children. I've been by her side through everything, and she's given meaning to my life. I would give my life for her if she demanded it.
At last, Saero looked at me, a smile of fire burning in his eyes through his gaze. I could see the devotion and truth in his soul, knowing how deeply he cared for Diana.
What say you to that?
Whoa. I love her too. Cause I'm assuming she does, right? So I'm gonna say that. I don't think Diana has love for our character yet. You know what I mean? She has feelings, but it's not like love like with Saero. It's different. I love her too. Saero was serious about his affection, so was I. Saero stared wide-eyed as I smiled and nodded to him, understanding his feelings. I feel happy when I'm with her. She taught me so much during the time we spent together, about demons and the 5 worlds. I could hardly believe it all existed at once. I looked back at Diana, seeing her continue her dance with a concentration expression. The more I thought of her, the happier I felt myself becoming. I thought of all she has done. Well, what she did was tragedy. It was in desperation. She had no choice. I understood that I knew eventually that without an act, I never would have learned about this world or magic at all. Before I met her, my life was boring and bland. I went to school and was only allowed to think about my future. When Diana appeared, she changed my life. She showed me an entire new universe that I will never be able to thank her enough for that. I know you've been with her for a very long time, but I understand your feelings for her perfectly, but she's mine, but she's important to me. Yo, that's such a bitch thing to say. I'm gonna say I understand your feelings perfectly. We both love and care for her. I could tell that Saero deeply and truly loved Diana, but so did I. She had done so much for me already, and I found myself captured in her spell. Saero had to have been the same. I was given silence as Saero's reply. Diana's dance continued into the night, surprising me. She had this much stamina? Despite watching her, she didn't stop break once, most likely expending her energy to keep moving. How long did the dance have to go for? As the torchlight illuminated the space, and the moon was on top of the sky, Diana finally stopped, panting hard and clashing the sabers together to cause a ring of steel bounce through the air. The audience clapped wildly, many deeply captivated enough to stay the entire time, as some joined during the later hours of the ritual. The brute, whom I decided dubbed as Sergeant, stepped from the crowd into the ritual space and walked towards Diana. Letting the sabers vanish into the air, Diana looked at the one approaching her with a tired stare. Silence lingered between them as Sergeant held out his arm to Diana. With a smile, Diana reached out and clasped her hands onto his forearm.
Honorimus dirigendo pedes.
Victoria in consummatione.
I guess it worked! Another round of cheers echoed through the air, the words exchanged between them. I smiled, knowing that Diana had appeased Sergeant and his people. Diana released her hold on his hand and nodded to him before looking towards me, and ushered me to her. I quickly rushed over as she lifted her arm and placed it along my shoulders tightly. Diana?
I need a little help.
Oh, I could feel Saero's gaze on my back. Would he step in and fight me, doing as she asked? I looked back to see him watching with a blank expression. What was going on in his mind? Oh my god, it's so bad! I feel for Saero. Oh, Jesus. With a laugh to Diana, I led her back to my room, where she sat tiredly on the bed. The exhaustion in her face was clear, and her body quaked from overexerting itself. You dance so beautifully, Diana. With a smile, Diana looked up at me and blushed a bit. To see her face go slight pink made her so adorable.
You flatter me, dear.
I could only smile before she slowly stood back up and took my hand. Surprising me, she kept her head down, however, which made me even more confused as to what she was doing. Diana?
Dear, I'm sorry.
Huh? For what? Diana grimaced before looking up at me with serious eyes. They flickered back and forth between red and gold, but as she stood her ground. She taking my energy again?
For the intolerance from my kind. Humans aren't exactly welcome in this world.
That's what this is about? I understood completely, but it seemed to hit Diana the hardest. After all, she was the one who brought me into this world. I cupped Diana's cheek and smiled at her, causing her expression to go from shame to surprise. Diana, it's alright. I need to say, I love you? I don't know if this is like too soon or not. Diana hitched her breath. It was true, though. I had grown to love her and everything she has done. She was brave, powerful, beautiful. Everything I desired in a person. My heart beat wildly for her, and I could only pray that she understood my feelings. Diana looked at her hands, her eyes wearing a bit. I instinctively wiped her eyes a bit with my fingers, now concerned. Diana?
I don't know what love is.
I stared dumbfounded. She didn't know what love was? However, she surprised me by placing a gentle, shaking hand on my cheek, leaning in.
But I'm willing to learn, if it's with you.
Ah, that's so sweet. That's very sweet of her to say. I gasped slightly, seeing the earnest and care in her eyes before she closed them, and gently planted a kiss on my cheek. A soft shudder ran down my spine as I felt her soft lips press against my skin. Just gonna kiss her, okay? I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to kiss her. I pulled Diana close and wrapped my arms around her neck, capturing her lips with my own. She gasped in surprise and silly eagerness, but slowly began to melt into the kiss between us. Her lips as heavenly as night as I first tasted them. Oh, are we like doing it already? Like, is it happening? The sinning? Her arms gently wrapped themselves around my waist, pulling me close to her. The jangle of her brute dancer garb echoed in the room, making me smile slightly at the surprised noise. I had nearly forgotten that she was still in her dancer's outfit. On their own, my fingers slowly danced around Diana's shoulders and traced over the seams of her outfit, making her body shudder over so slightly. Was she enjoying a mere touch of that? Or was she hungry for energy? I pulled away slightly, seeing her eyes dance between red and gold, some control trying to maintain within her gaze. She was out of energy and she needed more than just a kiss. For now, I would take it slow. I leaned back and kissed her again, this time biting her lower lip and enticing her to let go of the control she had. I wanted her to relax for me and be the one to comfort her and hold her against me. Maybe it was because the call of her succubus body had on me, or maybe it was because my heart desired to be with her that much. I didn't care, but I obeyed the command of my heart and to drive her to the pleasure we both craved. That night for us would be the warmth, the afterglow would be exquisite. Wait, did they do it or not? Like, I'm so confused. Diana released an almost carnal moan against my lips and tightened her grip on my waist, almost slamming my body against hers. My plan was working and she was falling into the temptation. I couldn't help the smirk that painted itself across my face with the gesture. In return, I quickly rushed my hands up Diana's body and combed my fingers through her hair before gripping her horns. Oh god. Damn it! To my surprise, Diana released a moan against my lips, causing me to pull away and stare at Diana's surprised eyes. A blush ran across her cheeks, but her gaze melted into a lust and desire as I held on her horns in my grasp. Were her horns a re-spot? I gripped them harder. Michaela, you have no shame! God damn it! I was right. I pulled Diana closer to me with her horns, and I almost slammed my lips into hers. Wanting to devour her moans she was releasing, I felt myself become more passionate into the kiss between us, needing to feel more of her. Diana dug her nails into my hips and practically pushed onto the bed behind me, causing me to bounce onto the mattress. I reflexively released her horns and felt my hands fall back on either side of me as Diana smirked down at my form.
You're not playing fair.
Whoa! Okay. Anyway, fucking too many CGs for me happening today. Anyway, I felt the small warmth ignite my core, pleading with me to ravish her again. But I felt myself become lost in her dominant gaze over me. I felt the clothing on my body become uncomfortable and I wanted to take it all off beneath her, but I remained locked in her sight. Diana ran a hand along my cheek and traced a finger down my body. Slowly it danced over my curves to find each loving, sending shivers up my spine. Look who's talking! Diana chuckled before leaning in nose to nose with me.
Let me make you feel good.
Woo, okay, that's fine. I mean, cool. I mean, what? At last, Diana became the one who initiated a kiss. Her hands pressing down on my waist to pin me to the bed beneath us. I wrapped my legs around her waist, pulling her to me, causing a trickle to echo from between our lips. As her hands began to come over my skin and tug the shirt off my body, I felt myself pull away to strip it off of me. It was tossed to the side to be forgotten, for our focus remained on each other. I felt myself turn red as we were slowly diving into, taking in the fact that I had initiated a dance with a succubus I had grown to love. It was unfair that she was in control, but it was only natural. I had barely noticed the garb over Diana's body disappearing, leaving her bare over me. Despite the purple taint over her skin covering her essentials, I could tell that she was very much nude, just from the heat between us. Oh my god. Damn it! Diana's kisses trailed down my cheek and neck, dipping over my skin and making the warmth within my core burn even hotter in need. Every kiss and touch she placed on me made my mind spin and dance in an endless wave of soft euphoria. I knew that it wasn't her first time being intimate, but I could tell that every touch she made, she only did for me and my own pleasure. She truly indeed intended to make me feel good. I became like putty in her hands, my own eventually resting above my head, as I let her strip me bare and massage every inch of my body. She didn't just kiss over me, she made every muscle in my body obey her with the fingers and palms. Oh my god, okay. even as her tongue looked over the most delicate spots, or that part in the fucking spot. Oh my god, what the fuck? She took great care in watching my reaction and listening to my moans, working in her way into my mind, body, and soul to tie them together in heat, frenzy, lust, and desire. This was truly work of a master succubus, and I was able to call her mine. Even as my cries echoed through the room, she didn't stop until I was floating on cloud 9. Her pleasure came from my moans in multiple releases, filling herself with my energy and devouring the pleasure we shared hungrily and lovingly. I was in heaven in a succubus's embrace. My god. I could barely register her arms around my form as she held me close and kissed over my hair.
My sweet love, I will hold you close for as long as I can.
Man, I feel bad. You know, I still feel bad for Saero, like, cause she's like, Diana's essentially like, I mean, demons don't really care if they sleep with each other because that's how they get food. But Saero's not a demon, so this must be really awkward for him. And I will be with you forever. My heart fluttered at the feeling ebbing within my chest. I was happy, and I would keep this happiness close to me for as long as I live. I woke up after a peaceful sleep, staring up at Diana. She leaned back against the bedpost, reading a book I didn't recognize. As I started to shift, Diana looked down at me and grew a loving smile.
Good morning, dear. Ready for today?
Despite feeling tired of the effects of the morning, I nodded with a smile of my own. I could tell that today was going to be a good day. Diana closed her book, placed it on the table beside the bed before standing, stretching her body. However, mid-stretch, Diana froze. In fact, the room became frozen, as if time itself had stopped. Oh, Saero, no, what are you doing? Huh? Diana? I felt myself move freely despite the air around us being still. I stood from the bed and walked around to see Diana, still frozen like a statue. What was going on?
Human.
Oh, shit. Hey! My heart froze as I looked to Saero by the corner of the room, arms crossed to stare cold as ice. What was he doing? Saero, what are you...
Come with me.
Okay, please don't kill me or anything. Without another word, Saero left the room into the hall. I was massively confused but followed, now worried of what would happen if I didn't. As we walked down the hall, I was stunned to see every person in the castle frozen in time. Yo, he's like Professor X from X-Men. How was this possible? How was Saero doing this? Saero was silent the entire walk. Eventually, we walked to the gold set of doors which led to the chamber of her family was killed. I hesitated, staring warily at Saero before seeing him open the chamber. To my surprise, the room changed from a nursery room full of blood to a view of an outdoor space. As far as I could see were trees and plant life, bustling and full of life. What the hell? Saero stopped in it and waited at the door, ushering me inside. I followed, despite every nerve in my body yelling me to turn back and run. I had to see this through, whatever this is. Saero led me to the forest trees, making sure I was able to see him the entire time, until we reached the pathland with a singular large tree covered in pink and purple petals. Whoa. I found myself becoming entranced at the sight. What was this place? Why was it here? As I examined the tree, I noted a major abundance of fruit in the branches. Oh, those are the freaking fruits she brought in the human world. I smiled, knowing exactly what they were. Sweet flowers.
You know of them?
I nodded. Diana gave me a slice of them in the human world. This is the best thing I have ever tasted. I could faintly remember the taste of it. It was perfect, sweet, and moist. I was so full of energy after that day, I was hardly able to keep it all in. Saero let out a small chuckle, drawing my attention.
I was barely walking when I had my first taste. My lady climbed the tree and picked it herself before splitting it open down the middle and giving me one of the halves.
Aww. I slightly smiled, imagining a young Diana and Saero doing such a thing. As my gaze wandered to the tree, I spotted the crowns of Diana's parents and sister at the base, making me frown a bit. At the sight, Saero let out a small sigh.
Tell me honestly, do you truly believe you can make her happy?
I looked up at Saero, surprised at the question. His face was stern and serious as he gripped the spear in a white-knuckled grip. Why was he asking such a question? With a nod, I took a breath and stood up straight. I do. And I know you love her too. I want to be the one. You know what? No. I know that. I don't want to be a dick to Saero. Like, I don't see the point in doing that because I feel like he's just gonna fucking kill me anyway. So I'm just gonna acknowledge the fact that he has feelings for her as well. You know what I mean? And to be fair, he has feelings for longer than we have. You know what I mean? So it's like we're stepping on his territory in a way. Even though Diana doesn't belong to anyone. I'm just saying, like, feeling territory, I guess. I don't fucking know. And I know you love her too. I didn't want us to fight this like children. Yes, I loved her, but so did he. Who was I to push him away? After all, he had served his entire life. Saero stared at me hard, taking in what I said before raising his spear, pointing it at me.
You truly love her?
I do. I'm sorry if that upsets you. A moment passed. What would Saero do? I prayed that he wouldn't strike me down. I hoped that he was willing to listen to and compromise. A small chuckle escaped Saero's lips, causing me to look at him in confusion. His face painted his concern and his strange thoughts on this almost humorous situation as he lowered his spear. He shook his head.
It doesn't upset me. I just want Saero to be happy.
Aww, as do I. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm sorry. Like, Saero's just, like, willing to, like, sacrifice his happiness for Diana. That's how much he loves her. Saero locked eyes with me, gazing into my soul and judging my words for their truth. I was being honest, and truly, to know that both of us cared about and loved Diana was an amazing fathom. Eventually, Saero smiled slightly.
Then maybe it's best that we both try to make her happy.
Excuse me, I can't help but you're implying maybe like a polyamorous relationship. If that's the case, like, I mean, personally, for me personally, I'm not into those kind of relationships, but I'm totally fine with it as long as like everyone's consenting. But it seems like Saero's consenting, and it seems like Mika's gonna consent. So we gotta ask Diana if she's gonna consent with this, and then we can all be in a relationship. That'd be cool. I smiled and nodded, happy to know that he understood. This wasn't a contest, nor something to fight about. If we both love her, then the best thing to do was for both to shower her with love we felt she deserved.
What is going on?
Oh shit. Saero and I suddenly looked at the direction of Diana's voice, seeing her completely red in the face with anger. As she walked forward, Saero bowed his head in submission.
My lady,
Oh yeah, because he froze everybody, right. I asked Saero if we could talk in private. Diana stopped walking and stared at me with the most confused look I had ever seen. I giggled a bit before stepping to her and taking her hand. We needed to chat about a little something. About you, of course.
About me?
I nodded with a grin before walking over to Saero and placing his hand on his shoulder, making him look up at me. I lowered my hand and offered it to him, helping him stand before continuing. We are both in love with you, Diana. The look on Diana's face was both hilarious and adorable. Her face turned completely red as she darted her eyes back and forth between the both of us.
Saero.
Saero took a step forward and took one of Diana's hands, as did I the same with her free hand. Diana looked back and forth between us, now completely in shock and uncertainty. Saero and I couldn't stop the smiles on our faces at the sight.
We love you and want you to be happy.
If it takes both of us to do it, then we will happily do everything we can to ensure the happiness. My heart felt like I had made the right choice. Saero had loved her and so did I. There was no need to lay claim on her when she was deserving of the ultimate love. If it was something we could both provide, then it was well worth sharing. Diana's eyes began to water as she looked down and tried to catch her breath. Before Saero and I could worry, however, she softly chuckled.
You both are such fools.
For a moment, Saero and I became the confused ones, but as Diana looked back up with us with a happy smile and soft tears running down her cheeks.
I don't deserve either of you.
Aww.
Let alone both of you.
That's where you're wrong, Saero. I stepped forward and softly kissed Diana on the lips, making her gasp and stare at me wide-eyed as I pulled away. As I pulled away, I grinned. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Saero stepped forward and placed a kiss of his own on Diana's lips, causing another gasp to erupt from her and making her blush on her face deepen.
And we would be honored to grant you that happiness.
Yeah! Poly relationship, sorry! Diana couldn't help sobbing, covering her face with her hands. Saero and I quickly rushed to her side, embracing her and sandwiching her between our bodies. We didn't want to upset her. Her body shivering between ours before she took a couple of deep breaths, trying to calm down. Saero and I, however, began to pepper her kisses along the hands and cheeks, wanting to comfort her. It was hard to believe that we were agreed on something, but Saero and I both wanted the best for Diana, and both for our hearts wanted to be with her. As long as we were open about it, we would be okay. Hey, that's good. Okay, I'm glad that Sarah was on our side now. I'm sorry, I'm gonna end the episode right here, but that was really interesting. I'm glad that Michaela wrote in a poly relationship, because it's not even like an Otome game, it's just like games in general. Like, I don't really know any like relationships that are like that, you know what I mean? There's no representation of that kind of relationship. So I think it's really interesting. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this episode of Seduce Me, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe to join the companions, and if you'd like to help support the channel on Patreon, there's a link in the description. Got early access to videos for Patreon only, and the Discord server to come talk to me, and a bunch of other cool stuff. Or you can check out my store, that's another way you can help support the channel. But please let me know in the comments what you guys thought about essentially this relationship between Mika, Saero, and Diana. I think it's cool. I like it. I appreciate Michaela writing in this kind of relationship for the game. It's really cool. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye! Oh, what is that? What is this? Oh my god, I'm telling you, it's some cold shit. I'm telling you. Then pounded his fist into the floor. Ow! Drossie's flaming sword, damn it! He held his right hand, soothing himself till he heard a knock on his door. Alistair? Alistair, are you alright? You got